Niko Medved. Minnesota hires Niko Medved for a 6-year deal. He is a Minnesota alum. He is a former assistant in the 06-07 season at Minnesota. Been a successful coach at Colorado State. He's been there for 7 years. He missed the NCAA tournament his first 3 years there. One of those years, they did not have the NCAA tournament. However, it did not look like he was going to make it regardless. I'm sure there's always a possibility of going on a run, winning the conference tournament, but that did not come to fruition because there was no conference tournament in 2020. So that one, I don't even know if you counted against him or not. I'll say he wasn't going to make the tournament anyway, so probably wasn't going to happen. But 3 of the last 4 years at Colorado State, he has made the tournament. First round exits in 2 of those 3 years that he made it. This last year, which is this tournament that's going on right now, he got to the second round after upsetting Clemson. Was one of the only mid-major teams that actually shot the ball from 3 well in that game. That contributed to it. It was also just a good defensive performance by Colorado State in order to hold Clemson to, a very not good point total there at the end of the first half. And that's good for Colorado State, but it's really not what Niko Medved has been known for while at Colorado State. He's kind of been known for developing his team a little bit more into an offensive team and doing some more things there. So before Nico took over in 2019, Colorado State in 2018, they were 224th in KenPom. On offense in KenPom, they were 214th, and then on defense, they were 237th. So ranged around the 200 area the year before Nico took over. The first year Nico comes in, he raises them up to 180th in KenPom. Following on offense, he was 112th, and then on defense, he was 261st. From there, he was inside the top 100 in KenPom every single year except one, and that was the one time in the last 4 years that they missed the NCAA tournament. 2020 they were 99th. 2021 they were 76th. In 2022, the first year he made the tournament, they were 46th in KenPom, 24th on offense, 89th on defense. In 2023, 110th, 59 on offense, 199th on defense. Not a great year for his defense there, but in 2023, his best year, when Colorado State managed to reach the 12th place in the AP poll. They were much better in KenPom, 36th overall in KenPom, 51st in offense, and he actually got his defense up to 27th. This past year, 42nd on offense, 42nd overall, 40th on offense, 53rd on defense. Niko Medved is going to give you a good offensive team. They're going to be able to provide sparks. They're going to be able to score the ball well, whether that's their three-point shooting, whether that's their ball movement, whatever it might be. They do a good job of that. I like this hire overall for Minnesota for 3 different reasons. Number one, Nico is an underrated talent developer. I believe he sent David Roddy to the NBA as a first-round pick after being the number 6 player in Minnesota. Isaiah Stevens was a top 300 prospect in the class of 2019, and he became a 5-year starter for the Rams. A real good piece there. I mean, he was never going to make the NBA. I think he was 5'10", 5'11", so he was never going to make the NBA with that kind of size, but he was a reliable starter and did a good job improving his game year after year. And then finally, the star player from this team, Nick Clifford, I believe that's how you say it, Nick, Nique. He went from averaging less than 7 points per game at Colorado to averaging in his final year, his 5th year of eligibility, 19 points per game at Colorado State, and he has now become an NBA draft prospect, popping up on big boards, somebody that teams might be drafting. He's not going to be a first round pick most likely, but he could possibly get drafted after graduating from Colorado State, showing his ability to bring in guys from different states, from the state that he's in, and also showing an ability to take somebody from a larger program that maybe isn't doing so well, bring him into his program they turn into a star player and they turn into an NBA draft level prospect. Excellent work by Niko Medved. I also believe the boosters in the administration are showing belief in Niko Medved more so than probably Ben Johnson. It's unfortunate for Ben Johnson, but at the end of the day, Ben Johnson wasn't getting a lot of people excited for his coaching, right? Ben Johnson, although I did feel like Ben Johnson did the best he could with what he had. He had players leaving that it would, it really, really stunk for him that they left. I don't think that was so much on him as much as it was the lack of resources available for the program. But Ben Johnson wasn't proven. He was an assistant coach at Xavier. He was an assistant coach at Nebraska. Like he was an assistant coach his entire time in coaching, got the Minnesota job as a Minnesota former player, which good for him that he was able to get that, but he was just never really able to show the coaching prowess of first-time head coach. And if we're being honest, in the Big Ten teams are too good to be hiring first-year head coaches, right? We saw it didn't work with Ben Johnson here. Right now, it's not working very well at Ohio State with Jake Diebler. It could work. We'll see what happens next year, but it's not working right now with him there. With Mike Woodson, didn't work for him at Indiana. So Niko Medved, an experienced coach, somebody who has experience at Colorado State, and I believe he was somewhere else before Colorado State as well. I apologize for not remembering where. Never mind. He was at Drake. He was at Drake. Every single Big Ten coach that's been hired this cycle, Ben McCollum, Darren DeVries, Niko Medved, have all had experience at Drake. I totally forgot about that stat until just now. So, yes, he's from Drake. Also coached a little bit of time at Furman as well. So, Nico, an experienced coach, somebody who's coming in, the boosters, the administration, all those people, they're going to have more belief in him, especially his first year coming in. I believe that's going to mean more allocated resources, the revenue sharing coming in. Means they could allocate more money to basketball rather than football, being mostly that, or maybe some of the other sports going more toward basketball, which is good for them. He has experience. He's recruited the state of Minnesota well, and I think that inspires belief from the administration and the boosters as well. A lot of these boosters are from the state of Minnesota, or they grew up in the state of Minnesota, or they live in the state of Minnesota now, and they want to see local talent perform and do well. Being able to take a player like David Roddy from the state of Minnesota, turn him into an NBA draft first round pick. That's fantastic. Shows that you have the eye for the talent, number one. But number two, it also shows that you're willing to go into the state of Minnesota and recruit. It's excellent work by him, and I think it's going to inspire belief from the boosters and the administration to give him more resources that he needs. Also, third thing, his style and his fit. I think that his style of play with his team, it fits Minnesota. It fits being able to win in the Big Ten. I'm not going to pick Minnesota to win the Big Ten outright anytime soon. I mean, Niko Medved, I guess, could pull a Dusty May and win the Big Ten tournament or something like that. But at the end of the day, I like what Medved is going to bring in here. Minnesota is not going to be one of the most talent-rich teams in the conference. It's just not the way it works. And Medved plays a slower pace of style. I think slowing down the game, less possessions for the other team, that's going to benefit Minnesota more often than not. He has shown an ability to get his team to run the fast break more. In fact, that year when they were ranked 12th in the AP poll, that was one of his best years getting out on the fast break. But overall, he's shown the most important things on offense his teams do well. 90 plus percentile in assists per game in the last 3 years. They've been 89th percentile or higher in effective field goal percentage in the last 4 years there. And the biggest difference in 2025 was their defensive rebounding and their three-point percentage went up. So Nico is showing that he is able to elevate his teams as he's coaching longer. He's getting better. He's doing more. It's impressive work from Nico, and I think it's going to fit this Minnesota team well. So let me know what you think. Do you like the hire of Niko Medved? You think it's going to be good for Minnesota? I particularly am proud of the Big Ten that they went out and made some really good hires this year in the cycle. I believe Indiana found a good coach in Darren DeVries. We'll see how that one turns out. Ben McCollum, I think, is a good coach. I talked about him on the last episode, the last After Dark, and then Niko Medved, going to be a good coach for Minnesota. I think that he could take them to the tournament here in the future, and you could find yourself rooting for Minnesota in the tournament. Very, very cool stuff. So just want to say thank you again for joining me. Like I said, comment your thoughts about Niko Medved, everything else. Really appreciate you being here.